Alright, guys. Welcome to How Not to Play Montana. Um, this is this is not my proudest game I've ever had. I'm gonna be honest. It's a little sad to me that this is in the game. But this is what happens when you don't involve skill in the game. Really, this is what happens when you make the game incredibly easy to play and you don't require people to have any skill in playing. So this is gonna be a 100% HE Montana game. And now you might be thinking to yourself, HE Montana? Why in the world would I ever play that when there's Conqueror or Thunder in the game, even Bourgogne? Well, the point of playing Montana here is just to show you how disgustingly overpowered high explosive is in the game. Um, this the ammo this ammo choice is nuts. It's effectively gold ammo in World of Tanks. It's just auto win ammo basically. Um, where armor piercing shells you need to hit broadside targets, preferably at the waterline where the Citadel is, to get damage, and like good damage. High explosive, you just aim anywhere on the ship and you're just guaranteed damage, honestly. It's it's just that crazy. These shells do a lot of damage, and then not only that, but you got to keep in mind that fires do a ton of damage to ships, especially battleships, but even cruisers and destroyers take a lot of damage from fires. And that's the main issue, is your initial alpha strike might be a little bit less. You know, I mean, that was 11,500 damage from HE alpha strike, so not even that bad of damage. But you light fires, and fires just tick and tick and tick, and just look at that damage counter just ticking up. You know, almost 1,000 damage per tick. Well, actually, no, sorry, it's more like 500 or 600 per tick on that Montana. But you know, if he doesn't have any fire prevention or any anti-fire build, that's a 60-second fire at, you know, half 1,000 damage per tick. That's a lot of damage that you get over time. And that's the key difference. Armor piercing is instant damage, and high explosive is just dot damage. And there you go, another 9k HE hit on a ship that's already been saturated because I've hit him so hard with high explosive already. You know, I'm just sad that this is in the game, man, honestly. And because all you're trying to do is hit the superstructure and upper belt and upper deck armor of battleships, you don't really have to think about aiming. In this game, I'm really just kind of, about there looks right, and then shooting, because it's just, you don't have to aim at a particular specific point on a ship. You just kind of hit anywhere and you deal damage. And that's the way HE is. Even if you shatter, even if you hit the heaviest armored portion of the ship, like the turret or the belt, you can still deal damage there, even if you shatter, because you can still light fires on a shatter, which I think is incredibly dumb. I just don't. I don't like that this is in the game. I think it's way too easy. I think it requires it takes all the skill out of the game. It makes angling pointless. Like this Montana here trying to angle to me. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what he does. I'm just going to deal this constant damage to him. It doesn't matter what he does. The only option he has is to run away. That's it. And that's what you're going to see. Right? He pushed in. He tried to support his team as best he could, and he's down on 30k HP. Right? Like, and as you're going to see, just keep an eye out for the path of this Montana, this Yamato, and then there'll be another Montana later. But just watch how they're playing the game. And I'm just spamming them with HE from like 20 kilometers. That's all I'm doing. My team isn't applying that much pressure here that they need to be turning out. But there you go, another 9,000 damage. I don't know, man. The reason this works is because high explosive has good alpha strike already, not as much as armor piercing, but instead of getting overpens, which are 10% of your theoretical maximum shell damage, full pens deal 33% of your maximum shell damage. So, and citadels, of course, deal 100%. So that's your kind of different areas where you're dealing damage. 10%, 33%, and 100%. And now armor piercing gets the option to get all three of those, right? Of course, there's shatters, which are 0%, but we're just going to ignore that. Shatters and bounces. If you're dealing damage, it's either 10, 33, or 100%. And high explosive doesn't overpen. You either full pen, or, I mean, if the ship's weak enough, you can Citadel and get 100%. But generally, it's just full pen all the time, which is 33% of damage all the time. Every shot, 33%, 33%, 33%, all the time. And while you may not have the biggest hits, you get just consistent damage, especially at long range. Sure, at close range when something's broadside, I mean, you're probably better off using AP, but if you wanted to play this as requiring as little skill as possible, you would do this. You would sit flat broadside to the enemy battleships, like I am now, and just point and click at them with high explosive and collect your massive amounts of damage. And now I could be angling here better, obviously, but the point I'm trying to prove here is not that, oh, look at how good I am at this game, and that's why it worked. I'm trying to prove that this works even if you play really dumb. And so that's why we're just chilling broadside. You know, we're letting that Montana and Yamato have free shots at our broadsides, but they're using armor piercing, and armor piercing overpens a lot, or shatters, or misses, you know? And so for me, I just spam this high explosive at them, and I just get tons of damage. I mean, we're nearly at 100k damage, and it's just barely past the 12-minute mark. Like, it's crazy to me that this is the way this game is designed. And this is Battleship high explosive, and this is original Montana high explosive from the beginning of the game. Like, this is how this ship hasn't changed. Its armor, like its high explosive and its armor piercing, haven't changed since the game was made, and yet, or released, I should say. It was probably changed in beta, but since it was actually released, and you just get to, this has always been here, and people have always looked down upon using high explosive because, well, it's not as good as armor piercing, but at this point, I'd say it's better than armor piercing. This is just easier to play. You sit at the back and you just deal your consistent damage. Look at this. We've pushed 2 battleships, nearly 3 battleships back to the 1 line. Or sorry, not the 1 line, the A line. Nearly all 3 of them are on the A line, farther back than their aircraft carrier is. And we're kind of here in the middle of the map. We're not even terribly pushed up. But it doesn't matter because I can apply constant pressure at these long ranges because I know how to aim, and high explosive doesn't care that it's at long range and the armor will most likely bounce armor piercing because we just have to hit to deal damage. I really wish this game toned down the high explosive. Battleships have some of the lowest DPM in the game compared to cruisers and destroyers, and their fires per minute is also lower generally. I mean, Conqueror and Thunder are exceptions here. Obviously those ships are better high explosive spammers. Montana's pretty good though, simply because it has better accuracy than Conqueror. You'll see that in some of these shots that Conqueror would never hit as many shells as Montana hits with high explosive, and that's kind of where it makes up ground, despite its shells doing less damage and having less fire chance. You just hit more, so you deal similar. But battleships aren't really generally known for high explosive damage, but they can easily do it. And what does that say about ships that are known for their high explosive damage? Your Smolensk, your Even Zhao, from the beginning of the game, Zhao has been an insane high explosive ship. Much more so than battleships have ever been. And I just don't think high explosive requires any skill to use, because you aim anywhere and you deal damage. Even if you shatter, there's a chance of lighting a fire, which will deal damage. And sure, you might not have this range in a cruiser, but you get concealment, and you can use islands better, and all these things that help you to stay alive better. Montana does have the benefit of having a pretty tanky hull, right? I mean, it's pretty hard to Citadel this ship. It's got some decent upper belt and deck armor to shatter some smaller caliber high explosive, bounce Yamato shells, all that good stuff. But I mean, it wouldn't matter if they were just shooting high explosive at me, because I would just be burning and taking, you know, bits of damage, 5-10k every 20 to 30 seconds, you know. And look at this. Look at what their team has been forced to do just because of some high explosive spam. Now they finally killed our Montana, but there's our Witherer. 160,000 damage now. And counting. And, you know, AP can work, right? And I'm really hoping, you know, at this point it's like, alright, just end the game already for me, because I hate that this I just hate that this is in the game. It's so easy to play. And I think anything that makes the game require less skill is bad for the game. And that's why I hate aircraft carriers too. Anything that you can't, with skill or smart play, mitigate the damage of, I think is bad. I think you should be able to, by playing smart and working with your team and being skilled, you should be able to mitigate the damage that another player is sending at you. And that's just not possible with high explosive and with aircraft carriers. Either one of those. There's nothing you can do except run away to the back of the map, like the enemy team has chosen to do. Right? Here's a Yamato at max range for me, which is, you know, 26, 27 kilometers away. I don't have a spotter plane up, but there you go. 4 hits and a fire, right? It's just ridiculous how consistent it is. And, you know, armor piercing would not have dealt that much damage at that range. There's no way my Montana in this game, if I had just shot armor piercing, would have done this much damage. And that's the sad thing, is that's just how either that just shows how bad armor piercing is in this game, or how crazy strong high explosive has gotten. Or not even gotten, just is in this game, because this high explosive hasn't changed. Like I said, it's been around since 2015 in this state, and nobody uses it. And yet it's way better than the armor piercing on this ship. And it just makes me frustrated, because this is all anybody does when they go for leaderboards or crazy high average damages. It's generally people just spamming high explosive like this from the back of the map. And this is how you do it. This is how you get your massive 3,000, 4,000 PR games with, you know, tons of damage, right? And it just requires no skill. All you do is sit at the back and spam. And spam and spam and spam. And that's all you gotta do, and you just win. So I might be saying this, I feel like I'm saying the same things over and over again in this video, but it's just really frustrating for me to know that this is in the game like this. And don't think this is just Battleship high explosive. This is every high explosive shell in the game. Everybody else's high explosive has higher DPM, higher fires per minute than this. Sure, they may not pen as much, but a lot of ships get over that 32mm threshold, and that's all you really need to be able to pen and deal your full damage per minute to ships that, to battleships, which in general have a lot of 32mm armor. So now these ships are trying to do a small push in a little bit here, but we're just sitting in our spawn, basically, sniping into their spawn, right? Like, it's crazy how you're able to just from long range get such consistent damage. Armor piercing is so inconsistent at this range. Not only do you have to hit the ship, but you have to hit it somewhere that's a vital area to even think about getting damage. You're going to overpen so many shells from this range with armor piercing, but with high explosive, it doesn't matter because you light fires and you full pen, right? Another 7k in a fire. Like, it's just really sad that this is what's optimal in this game as far as game design goes. It's just horrible game design, I think, that you're able to do this so easily. You know, even the aircraft carrier, he could have killed me there, but he didn't, and now we just keep spamming our high explosive. And like I said, I didn't even play this particularly well. I sat broadside to people, I didn't get punished. I finally got punished by the Kremlin, which, by the way, is crazy that he landed a double Citadel on me. That was pretty nuts RNG on his part, but, I mean, good for him. I would have preferred he killed my ship outright, because this was... I just can't I just don't understand why Wargaming makes this game require so little skill. The barrier to dealing massive damage and getting super unicum stats is so low, right? Like, I hope this game kind of proved that. Like, it's just sit at the back, spam high explosive, collect your 250k damage. Because as you'll notice, we have nearly 250,000 damage in this game. 14 fires, and look at how many hits we have. That's a pretty high hit count for a battleship. But if you're aiming at not the waterline, but if you're aiming to hit as many shells as you possibly can, because your shells just deal damage everywhere, you're aiming above the waterline, so you're splashing less shells. So it just makes me sad that this is the optimal way to play this game if you want to get good stats and all that good stuff. You can see the carrier still got higher score than me, which I mean, that's kind of shows you the two broken, overpowered mechanics, high explosive spam and CVs in this game, just carried out that game and forced the enemy team deep into their spawn, and there's nothing they could do about it. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have a good day.